Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. We are here for WOR. We are at the Mexican Grand Prix, and it is going to be an absolute incredible one. The second race of the year, but we are over halfway point through season 16. I'm joined by the incredible Joseph again for this week. Joseph, welcome along. And if anything is to go by, this week's going to be incredible.
Yeah, it is. I mean, how many different pole sitters, race winners have we had this season? We've had a real mix of everything so far. And Mexico, of course, starring in our first sprint race of the season, which means that there are more points on offer and there's greater opportunity for a bit of a championship shake-up as well. It's there for the taking for Louis Valentine after his P2 last week. And onwards we go then. It feels like a bit of a run-in now to the end of the season.
It definitely is. And talking about the standings, let's have a quick look at it. And Kai Pearson's lost that massive gap he had. It's only now, well, it's down to 19 points now after 6 rounds in the Singapore Grand Prix, where things went from bad to worse. And a bit of news for you on that one. Kai Pearson does have a qualifying ban for retiring on track. So the stewards have kept to their line, even though there was no cars out there. And I've just looked on the screen, Joseph. It's going to be a wet qualifying. I'm guessing it doesn't actually hamper Kai Pearson that much.
It doesn't, because the game still operates with a sprint qualifying format. So Kai Pearson will start 20th for the sprint race, and then the only way is up for what is a 12-lap sprint race, I do believe, and wherever he finishes, he will go on to start. So it's sort of the best race to go on and get a qualifying ban in, and well, with a wet qualifying as well, 18 minutes of qualifying, I mean, surely everyone's going to opt for the dry setup if it is dry for both the sprint and the race, which should mix up the grid a little bit more and, again, should be a little bit more advantageous to his potential recovery. So we'll see how this one goes, but yeah, Kai Pearson is not out of it.
Let's while no drivers really going out on track, we have a little flurry, but just about to start. Let's talk about last week in a little bit more detail. Matteo then taking victory. Never seemed like he was challenged at all in that race. He was pretty much faultless.
He was. It was a really good start, actually. It was crucially got off the line from his maiden pole position in WOR Tier 1. He did have, I think it was Flopman with him for a little while. Louis Valentine eventually got that jump over him in that second stint, but Matteo just kept getting quicker and quicker and quicker. Unfortunately for him, it's not the biggest race-winning margin of the season. That belongs to Furious, in excess of 15 seconds back in Monaco, but still one of the most dominant performances we will see of the season for a race that he wasn't particularly confident going into.
Yeah, I'll never forget the polar bear in Arkansas. It's Texas, isn't it? So, yeah, wow. Yeah. That is, yeah. I mean, everything about it was perfect and fair play to him. He's not here tonight, unfortunately. He was on the reserves list, but he wasn't. He's not one of the reserves filling in. Cameron Dowds is one of those. Are we going to finally see what he can do on track in anger? Because it just wasn't to be for him last week.
Yeah, it's a late call-up for him tonight. I think we just lost Magician before the race started. So he's in with the support of his dad in the live chat, of course. As always, the Tier 2 protege, who's stormed PSGL F1, to be honest. He's was very competitive in qualifying last week, but unfortunately, upon the restart, he disconnected and then never was able to get a setup on the car, and so his race sadly unravelled very, very quickly for him. But this is a better chance tonight. Hopefully no repeat of the issues last week. It might just be the case of him being Scottish and fibre optics not yet being installed up there.
I'm saying nothing on that front. However, I will go on track, and let's have a look at the first driver to make a lap time, and that will be F7 Argeron, and a driver that made a strategy call last week which worked out for him, but other drivers made the same one and it didn't work out for them. So he maybe got the luck of the draw a little bit on that one. However, he's now got 17 corners of this Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez circuit to navigate, and let's see how he can do. Obviously purple in Sector 1 as he heads down into turns 4 and 5, but he is the first driver to set a lap time, so it's always going to be purple through that, as long as he doesn't invalidate. And that's something that I will just pose a question to you now, Joseph. Is invalidations on this track can be really high if you're not careful.
Yeah, indeed, especially through the S section. Fortunately, at the moment, you are taking this section at a lot slower speed because it's raining, but the exit there, just cutting the inside, turning in too early, is quite a common theme. And down here as well, in towards turn 12, as you enter the Ferrosol, he's gone wide, he's invalidated, and the game, absolutely no mercy shown there, straight over that white line and straight into an invalidated lap time. He's got stuck behind his teammate, F7 after Stefano here. Fortunately, it doesn't matter, and he'll be in the PlayStation party saying, don't worry about it, just get on with your lap. There are no slipstreams permitted. Jeroen is now on an in lap and will box at the end of this one. But it's Joe Murphy setting the early pace. 1 podium to his name this season. Aurelia, 1 pole to his name this season. Just pips him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they will handle the pressure here in the really tricky wet conditions around Mexico. And, well, let's go on board with Enzo, whose season really hasn't kicked off as well as me may well have thought, because he was pretty good up there last season. Sammy obviously doing a fantastic job as well. But both McLaren drivers not towards the top of the standings, where we were kind of expecting them to push Kai Pearson, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no Kai Pearson to push in this qualifying. Kai Pearson, who's struggled on street circuits and is nowhere near over the line in terms of this title. He's retired from this session, obviously. He's got that qualifying ban, of course, and it does allow some different names to try and get on the board for pole position. Macho now up to P1. Liam Bowman in second place, of course. Pads in the wet, always a good combination. It's our second wet session of the season. The Singapore race was our first, so it's not come about too often, but the drivers have got to be ready to capitalise because, well, it's going to set you up for the sprint, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it's setting up into the sprint, and, well, I'm not 100% sure on the weather for the sprint race yet. I don't think we've been informed of that unless you've got some inside information, Joseph. I know you're quite well known and well respected in the racing community, so you've probably got a bit more insight than I do through all this. But yeah, in these intermediate conditions, they sometimes like to do 1 lap and then push for a second, like do 1 lap without ERS usage, and then the second lap they use their ERS, don't they, with the in these wet weather conditions.
Yeah, you can push it for both laps. Of course, you might want to do a little bit of management in that middle sector where the shorter straights are. But if you used it for session, getting the most out of your tyres, getting consecutive laps in to try and instill some confidence into your driving. I think Gabor has done some consecutive laps. Actually, I think this might be his first push lap of the session. No lap time on the board just yet, but he's rounding the final corner now as the Hungarian driver crosses the line. It's only 14th, so he's left himself, well, he's come out a little bit later in this session so far, and he's not quite had the lap time to show for it. Shizu Tom crossing the line, I think that was an invalidated 24.3, would have been good enough for the region of 6th to 8th. Sami Shemsi, purple in the middle sector. Now, he knows what it's about starting last. He did so back in Kota, and will want to be on the opposite end of that spectrum today with one of his main rivals that he's trying to chase down in this championship, Kai Pearson, having to start from the back from the sprint race, but Sami Shemsi crosses the line and goes up to a really respective 4th place for now.
Yeah, very, very good that time. And I was going back straight to Cameron Downs, as he's really struggling in this weather, back end flying all over the place. It looked pretty quick early doors, but he's doing some drifting in that Mercedes now, which probably isn't the ideal thing to do. Furious, is he on a lap time? I think he's going quite slow through Sector 2, so he might not be. But we'll wait until they go over the split marker for Sector 3 to see if he is on a lap time and see what it is. He's actually up on his lap time, so I was completely wrong with that. What can Furious do? Obviously, mentioned him earlier on with the Monaco Grand Prix, and currently P10.
Yeah, he didn't actually qualify on pole that day. It was Yossi, another one-time reserve driver this season. There's been a bit of a theme with him and Matteo setting pole position, but Furious crosses the line. It's another 10th improvement in the final sector. Again, just lap by lap, sector by sector, trying to find time. It's not the end of the world this session if you don't quite get it right over the course of a lap, but you want to make sure you're doing enough just to bring it all together by the end of the session. We've got a spinner. It's one of our first of the session. It's Cameron Dowds, who's looped it around at turn 4. I feel like that might have been under braking. Now frantically getting out of the way of one of the AlphaTauris. I think that might be Liam Bowman, the only driver out on track in the AlphaTauri, Scottish compatriot. He's invalid on this one. I think this might be an in-lap. Another driver yet to have a pole position this season. Be a great time for him as well.
Cameron seemingly not having the best of times with the back end there, unless he's just trying to really heat up those intermediates tyres. I'm not 100% sure. But his teammate could very well be on a lap, or is he just starting a lap? I think possibly. We'll have a look at the sector times as he comes on through. The Mercedes driver of Flotman, who, well, a race of what could have been last week. I think those penalties really harmed him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he showed great promise throughout. It was, I think, third in the end, if I'm not mistaken. But like he said, against Louis Valentin, any sort of mistake was going to be costly for him. So he's got the chance to try and show what he can do again today. Same with Cameron Dowds, as we've already mentioned throughout the stream. I'm not quite sure what his record is around here or just in general, because I've not seen him for a prolonged period of time, but being in the Outplayed Racing setup, always a benefit. We've had, I think, a bit of movement there. Gabor went 6th fastest, so after a poor first lap, he charged the battery fully, went again, and that might be one of the tactics these drivers are using to get that full battery in the consecutive laps in.
Now, well, I'm on board with Flotman as he rounds the final corner. Is it going to be enough to get himself higher up? It's enough for pole position by 0.2 of a second exactly there. And that is a cracking lap time from the Mercedes man there. Sprint races says rain to dry, so it's even more interesting for the sprint race. That's going to be an absolutely incredible race if it comes to a fruition like that, because, you know, having a pit stop in the sprint race, don't often see that.
You don't, and immediately I'm thinking turn 1, lap 1, already the drivers will want to give each other as much space as possible, because any sort of contact could completely throw them down in towards last place for the Grand Prix start. So yeah, this is going to be an even tougher test for the drivers, having to adapt to changeable conditions in a race that usually you just think about keeping it consistent. So wow. That is a lap time, isn't it, from Enzo? A 23.0. And I'm starting to think that this rain is easing up, just visually on board, and from the lap times as well. There could be a late twist in this timed qualifying session. Could we see slicks? I don't think so. I think the turnaround is too tight. But either way, the drivers will want to leave it as late as possible now, seeing these changes in lap time.
Well, I've seen Cameron Dowds and Furious both on the set of softs in the pit lane. So they're preparing themselves for that moment. It's definitely not raining anymore. There is a little bit of a dry line on track. You know what? We could see some people risk it. There's Shizu Tom deciding, you know, why not? He's in last place. He's actually behind Kai Pearson at the moment on the standing. So he's got nothing to lose, really, with 5 minutes remaining.
And bringing it back to the invalidations you mentioned earlier now as well. Changes in grip, much quicker lap times. These invalidations are going to be flying in, and it effectively becomes a one-shot qualifying session with only one lap time, one attempt on the soft compound of tyres. So right, all of these intermediate laps off at the moment. OP Ryan has started another lap on the intermediates. I think he's just completed one actually, and is now pushing to try and get back into the pit lane. He's only 400ths down on extremely low ERS and fuel at the moment, so I think that's just showing you where the track is heading. Sami Shemsi 2/10 up, nearly 3/10 actually in the first sector. He'll push on this lap, but I think he might just want to get back in at the end of this, because, well, he doesn't want to waste any time in getting the softs on and being ready for when that dry period and the DRS enabled comes.
This is going to be very, very interesting to see how it will pan out with some of these drivers, because Sami Shemsi's deciding, I suppose he's still got enough time to get into the pit lane, but he's 7/10 up on his lap time. It will be very close to claiming pole position from his teammate, but everyone else in the pits now, it's going on to a set of softs, and they're going to wait to be the last driver and hope for the best.
Sami Shemsi is staying out there. He goes quickest by a further 4/10. Just as Enzo did on Flopman, Sami Shemsi has that margin all to himself now. It's a McLaren 1-2. Again, he'll be pushing back into the pit lane. It will leave him around 2.5 minutes, I think, from the moment he enters the pit lane. It'll be a really tight turnaround for Sami Shemsi to get another either fresh set of intermediates on. There's the DRS enabled. It'll be time for slicks imminently. So, Gabor, who's out there on the soft tyres, Liam Bowman is as well. I'm not sure if they've made the right call here in going out early. Maybe they'll do a double out lap and try and preserve some of that excess fuel they've got on board and just get a feel for the track conditions. But everybody else will be going out as late as possible, as I said. So this could be a complete chaos situation out there on the circuit.
Are they going to have... Well, I'm going to say it. Are they going to have enough grip to be on the softs? Obviously, they will do. However, the chances of a mistake happening have just gone through the roof. And obviously, you know, you don't want to get an invalidation somewhere along here, because it is easier. All it takes is just that little bit of a back end wiggle because you've hit a little bit too much of the wet part of the track, and that's generally your lap done and dusted.
It is, and I'm just seeing what Liam Bowman is up to here, because you can see, just riding on board with him, the dry line forming. Like magic as it does on the F1 23 game, he's entering the Pharaoh Sol section of track now, the former baseball stadium, of course. Will he deploy that battery? Will he be full throttle out of the exit of the Peraltada and go for a flying lap here? Keke, we've got some team radio in the YouTube chat. I won't say the second word, but apparently he's out there on the intermediate tyres. He is indeed. It's an absolute disaster for our flying Finn, and only his second reserve appearance of the season. Meanwhile, Liam Bowman is not pushing on this lap. It is a double out lap.
Yeah, he's thinks he can do enough there, and him and I believe it will be... Is that the Haas driver of Gabor behind him? Are they both going to do a double out lap? Or it actually looks like Gabor might be pushing, but he is harvesting through turn one. So I'm not sure if those lights stay on in these conditions.
I think they're all off now. The rain lights are off. They're the ones on the sort of side of the front wings, but battery charging would still be present. So I think everybody at this point... Oh, there's the 5-place grid penalty. Fantastic. We were waiting for it. We were waiting for this chaos, as everybody is queuing up now, trying not to make contact, trying to leave it as tight to time as possible. Oh my word, Gabor carving through a Mercedes and an Aston Martin there. So much chaos on this outlap. Liam Bowman no longer has a front row seat. He's in a queue of about 10 cars. The first one to set their final flying lap will be Joe Murphy, but you can also see how late he's leaving it. Cars behind may well get a slipstream, but it is all coming down to this. For the official pole position recognition, Joe Murphy crossing the line to start. Everyone else behind out walking pace.
Joe Murphy has gone, and some people might miss. There's so many yellow flags. I can't see how long of the session remaining there is. However, some people might miss that cutoff, and that is going to be really quite frustrating for them. One of them could very well be Sami Shemsi, who's just joining the back end of the crew now. 9 seconds. It's going to be incredibly tight for them to get over the line, as we see Joe Murphy now funneling him his way down into turn 4.
Sammy's not made it. Sammy has not made it. The provisional pole sitter will not get a faster lap in than the lap that was good enough on the intermediate tyres. And they're still racing into the first corner. Nobody's going to get anywhere going like this. They may well improve, but it is not going to be a lap time that threatens pole position. Joe Murphy, with the clearest track of anyone, might be on for his maiden pole.
This is going to be incredible scenes. And you know what? We were speaking before the stream started. It's a tier 2 managed a 115 dead pretty much. TF10 to Dirk with that one. Are we going to get anywhere close to that? I don't think we are because of the track conditions that we've had. Murphy's going to cross the line with a 17-7. Sabi Shemsi could be starting along on the back row of the grid alongside Kai Pearson.
Stefano's slower, Jeroen is slower, they're all going to be crossing the line now. Aurelian to second and the front row. Now comes everybody racing behind. Cameron Dowds to P1. There goes Enzo as well. He's made up for his woes from his teammate. OP Ryan only 9th, and everybody now, you can see the racing that they did at the first corner has cost them. But Enzo, just as he did on the intermediate tyres, has found the pace under pressure on the final lap of the session to take pole for the sprint.
And if you said that said that top 3 for the qualifying at the start of the race, I don't think anyone would have believed you. Where is, out of all this, Louis Valentin? Look at that, 18th place. His advantage is not held with Kai Pearson being qualifying ban for this race. That is crucial in itself. Wow, what a indifferent qualifying we had.
I take some credit for that Louis Valentin call, saying that Kai Pearson, don't worry about that qualifying ban. Something is going to be thrown up in this qualifying session. The grid is going to be mixed. Lo and behold, Louis Valentin is P18. We have some grid penalties to rectify. That means there will be a restart prior to the sprint. I do believe, yes, World Online restart, we're back. But Liam Bowman, Louis Valentin, where are they sitting in the standings? Second for Louis Valentin, as we know. I can't remember where Liam Bowman is. It's not loading for me anymore. But either way, that is nasty.
That's not ideal at all. Let's do a quick rundown of it. It's Enzo, Cami, and Joe Murphy, the top 3, with then Aurelian, Quantum, Jeroen, and his teammate Stefano, Rick, Tom, and Ogween, your top 10. Then we've got Ryan, Flopman, Furious, Macho, Gabor, Sammy Shemsi, Liam Bowman, Louis Valentin, Keke, who had that mistake, and then obviously Kai with that qualifying ban. Obviously, with these sorts of restarts for the lobbies, it's a little bit of time to digest what we've just seen. Liam Bowman and Gabor, they went a little too early. Well, I won't say they went a little too early to go out on track. What they should have done is just go ahead with their lap time, shouldn't they? Okay, there was traffic and stuff, which would have caused problems. But then they would have possibly given people penalties. Not saying that they're that type of person, but give people penalties as well.
I don't know. It's a massive toss-up between the two. You go for the lap and risk, maxing to 118, 119 in those conditions where the track was still improving. I think they just should have held on. I think they had the flexibility. They were already set in their mind that they were going to go out there on slicks. They should have followed Joe Murphy, who pretty much nailed it. This is a mock start to the race that we've got on the screen. It always gets me. Does mean new lobby. It does mean a bit of waiting. But as you said, no, I don't agree. I feel like they should have just waited a little bit, sort of copied Joe Murphy. But it's easy to say in hindsight.
Yeah, it's oh wow. I should not have looked at that screen. Joseph's face says it all, really. Carnage, and let's hope. Well, let's talk about that long straight into turn one of the longest in F1 history ever. Whatever you want to say, it can cause absolute carnage into turn one. I believe it's going to be a full dry sprint race now, which kind of helps the situation. But all it takes is one driver just to have a little twitch, kind of pit maneuver their colleague, their fellow racer, and it's 4 or 5 cars that are out of the race. Not damaged, but they're generally out of the race.
It's about the only thing that characterises this circuit, the start-finish straight, in my opinion, and it is long, it is hectic. The because by the time you're getting to that first corner, you're trying to remember where to brake. You're trying not to go straight on. There are so many things that crosses a driver's mind. The pit wall is tempting as you try and take that tight run out of the final corner. I mean, DRS games are going to be in full force today. I'll tell you that.
Definitely, I fully agree with that one. And thinking back in history or WR console or Xbox Tier 1 history, I do remember Tom Manley fighting his way through the field. He had us starting towards near the back of the grid, and I famously commentary cursed him by saying he's fighting his way through. He just doesn't need a penalty, and on turn 2 he clips over the corner and gets himself a penalty. I mean, that is how easy it is to get a penalty here.
Yeah, it is. And as we saw in qualifying, I think on board with, I can't remember who it was, I think it was Jeroen at the start of the session, he just ran the slightest bit wide at turn 12. You're over that white line, you're immediately getting warnings, and you're pushing over the sausage curbs as well, coming through 13, 14, 15, that little quick section after the hairpin. You are all over the curbs here. You are really trying to extract as much lap by lap as you possibly can. Penalties have cost drivers. We saw it in Kota. We saw it in Monaco as well with that Nouvelle chicane. So I think it'll play a big part tonight. But again, how big depends upon whether how the drivers really acclimatise to the unbelievable amounts of grip they're going to have.
Yeah, and maybe it's this race is more now about consistency rather than out and out pace, because someone like Shizu Tomu, we don't often see get penalties, probably see himself further up the grid if he just keeps his consistency, because other drivers pushing that little bit too much go over those white lines, go over the sausage curbs, causing themselves a little bit of mischief and issues, and all of a sudden all the hard work that they're doing is undone. Let's have a quick look at the standings again. Obviously, Kai Pearson leading the way, will be starting at the back of the grid. Sami Shemsi is third and Liam Bowman is fourth in the championship. But Enzo in fifth place, 1 point behind Liam Bowman, and 41 points behind Kai Pearson. If things go right for him today, he's back in the championship hunt.
He is back in the championship hunt. I mean, for this sprint race, we have... I'm just trying to remember. We have 4 of the top... we have all of the top 4 in the championship in the bottom 5 for the sprint race. They've got to try and work together in the sprint race. It may well be they have to try and work together in the race as well to make up positions collectively. They won't want to do that. They'll tell you that they won't want to do that. They don't want to work together with each other by any means in this championship race. But it is a really unique situation that we've got on our hands tonight. The 5th place man on pole for the sprint needs to convert it first. But as you said, he can easily get up there in that race. But it depends on the pack at the back.
So a maximum of 33 points are on offer tonight if you go the full distance. Obviously, we've got a sprint race as well as the full feature race for tonight's Mexican Grand Prix. It adds that little bit extra spice to this series, to this race event, and having a look at the calendar once more for the season. After tonight, there's only 4 races remaining: Portugal, Belgium, Austria, and then the season finale in China. Some interesting racing opportunities here. Portimao we may never see again, and we mentioned at this point last week that Kai could win the championship in Belgium. It's still possible if things go his way, but all of a sudden it's pushing a little bit further back and we could be getting a final race championship showdown.
I hope it's a final race championship showdown. I mean, I wouldn't want it any other way in WOR. 11 races deserves that 11th race, I should say, to be the most vital. I can't really pinpoint anything too major from that. They're all conventional circuits. They're all circuits that drivers shouldn't really have too many issues with. But on tracks such as Spa, we have seen in years gone by just how badly things can go there. But, I think consistency over these last 4 races is exactly what you need, and there's not going to be too much street circuit excuse there.
Well, let us know in the chat who you think is going to take victory in the sprint race. Is it going to be pole sitter Enzo? Is it going to be someone from the back? Or are we going to see a surprise from someone like Aurelian in the middle of the... he's starting, I believe, 3rd, I think, is it? Or 4th? Or maybe Stefano or one of those guys really to take a little bit of a surprise. Let us know who you think. Joseph, obviously Kai leading the way in the championship. If you were him, how would you deal with this race?
I don't know. I think if his rivals weren't around him, I would have said just take it easy. But I think he's got to get his elbows out off the start, really try and jump ahead of everybody he's fighting. Hopefully not in a dirty manner, of course. I wouldn't expect that from Kai Pearson, but yeah, I think this is got to be one where he just gets his head down, just tries to make the most of seeing how many overtakes he can make as well, because that's always a fun challenge.
Now, obviously, some drivers through the season have showed glimpses of what they can do. Joe Murphy, I'm not pick on, but it's a driver that we know has got some incredible pace around him. I think starting quite high up as well. I think he's P3 and I think Aurelian's P4. Can't honestly remember. It was only 10 minutes ago, and my brain's just not working like it should do. But is this race a chance for him to build up some momentum again? And obviously, I think he's out of the championship battle, but to push himself on into season 17 and make himself a challenger.
Joe Murphy has had a fantastic previous 3 races. P5 in Las Vegas, P3 in Texas, and back to P5 in Singapore. He didn't score in any of the first 3 rounds. It has been an unbelievable turnaround. He's in great form. That Texas race summed up everything that he's about. Taking that gamble, going on the 11-lap fresher tyres, that 2-stop strategy, it earned him a podium. Yes, he did use a lot of battery. Yes, he could have been a little bit wiser with charging that up towards the end, and we might have been talking about a race win. But either way, he's got that racer brain inside of him that is there to be able to take risks and there to be able to just turn around a difficult run in form, because that's exactly what he's done.
It definitely has. And, well, we're expecting Kai to make way into the PC side of things, aren't we, at the end of the season? And it'll be sorely missed because we've got some drivers battling him hard. He's not walking away with it like many suggested he might do. He's obviously made a bit of an enemy for himself, though, with a few races where, obviously last week he retired on track and it's cost him a qualifying ban tonight.
Yeah, it has. I mean, Kai Pearson, I think at the weekend, Sunday in Tier 1, I think it was P6 to secure his best ever PC Tier 1 result so far. So the PC side of things, it is going very, very well. He'll be back in the WOR Legacy Division for the forthcoming season as well, racing as part of Novus Racing, which might have just add it's a fantastic move, and I can't wait to see him continue on the console side of things. He's got a foot in both doors. He's a really eager driver to succeed in the long term, and I think racing crossplay Tier 1 this season has been, it's fantastic to still have him here, and I hope he goes all the way and wins the championship, because he said from the start of this season that's been the ultimate goal, to sort of tick this one off to get the prize, and he's not far off. But it's that mistake last week that cost him.
Definitely. Yeah, he's not far off at all. He just needs to find his rhythm again, I think, in Tier 1 console WOR, because he seems like he's got it everywhere else. It's just on the console side of things here. Well, maybe we're jinxing him with commentary. I'm not sure, Joseph. I can't say for certain. But it's going to be interesting to see how he handles the pressure now. Again, let's look at the standings. Sami Shemsi a driver a lot of people backed as well at the start of the season, along with Louis Valentin. I mean, how do you feel these two drivers are gonna take with the positions they're in this qualifying?
Again, it's the same sort of situation as Kai, except they weren't expecting this. Sami Shemsi has done it once, as I mentioned earlier, back in Texas. Louis Valentin hasn't really had that sort of challenge, I don't think, this season. But should this sprint race start wet, and based on the weather forecast that we've got at the moment, it is saying clear in our lobby, so I don't know if that will be rectified. It would just be the case of trying not to lose ground to Kai Pearson in their minds.
Definitely not. And obviously, no Volokongan tonight, and he's in this top 10 as the countdown has started for this tonight. And OP Benza as well. Two top 10 drivers in the standings, unfortunately not here. But Quantum is here. He can get himself some more points. And while you're not in a... Well, those drivers are not technically in this battle for the championship, it's always nice, I suppose, for them to see their names on these standing boards in the top 10, in the top tier console on WR.
Let's not forget that Quantum has led laps. You know, he was taking that fight to Kai Pearson even with the 3-second penalty back in Texas. It was his best start qualifying-wise that day with a P3. Benza's had 2 P3s as well. The podiums, the qualifyings, they've all been varied so far this season. It's been great to see a real mix of talent up there as well. Matteo unlucky not to be in that top 10. He took himself to 25 points last week. We've not seen Volokongan for a few rounds either as well. So, again, it is, at the end of the day, the Tier 1 title is all about how many races you do and how many points you score in the races you do compete in. I know that sounds very cliche, very dull, and a very stupid way to put it, but at the end of the day, if you're not racing all of those rounds, you haven't got a chance.
Definitely not. And while we wait for the drivers to get themselves set and ready for this one, please give us your predictions for this sprint race. Joseph, yourself, who do you think? Is it going to be an Enzo victory?
I don't know. I think he might lose out based on the fact that he'll hit immediately, I should say, become vulnerable after lap 3. But I do see him still finishing in the top 3. I'm going to go Cameron Dowd to go on and win this one. I think second is the best place to be for this sprint.
Now, Cameron Dowd as the next driver I was going to touch upon, and you know what, he showed some incredible pace. Can this Tier 2 driver go out and do something, I don't want to say unthinkable, win this race, but it's a great opportunity for him to go and do something tonight.
Yeah, it is, and I don't think it's a surprise anymore. I think maybe a little bit harsh that he was still that Tier 2 driver that nobody coming into the tier last week, but honestly, he has been absolutely phenomenal, and winning consecutive Tier 2 races is a pretty tricky feat. That tier is unbelievably competitive and has had some great drivers, even the likes of Dirk we mentioned earlier, in there tonight. But he's been passed on now to us here in Tier 1, and he's really making a name for himself. So, you know, fair play to him. Here's to, again, touch wood, no disconnections.
Yeah, fingers crossed that he gives us a show tonight, because if all drivers are, and they are, on track, on ready for this one, it is going to be very shortly underway, and we are underway here as a drive-through penalty for Flotman for jumping the start. That's not ideal for the Mercedes drivers as they head on down into turn 1. No DRS at the first or second lap or third lap, but they will be fighting through. Here's Cameron Dowds up the inside, trying to get the move done, and I think he's going to have to concede the position as they head round turn 3 and then down into turn 4. Plenty of action happening behind, but Enzo holds on for now.
Yeah, so much to look at. Joe Murphy lost out to Aurelian there, but he's trying to go back around the outside, going into turn 4. Turns into the inside for turn 5. clips that sausage curb ever so slightly, avoiding contact and stays in P4. Flopman's up the inside of Stefano. In fact, I think it's Stefano attacking around the outside because he has done a very brave thing, a very unorthodox thing around here in Mexico, and that's start on the softs for the sprint. I'm told that is not the way to go around here due to high degradation, but he's made that gamble. He's up to P5. Flopman with the drive-through. He'll drop right to the back of this grid, but it looks like everybody is through nice and cleanly.
Yeah, it's looking relatively good at this moment in time for the most of those people. As what was that, Joseph? Sorry.
Yeah, Ogween's lost his front wing. Right as I said that, he's clipped the back of Ryan. I think there was a concertina effect behind as well. Flopman's come in to serve the drive-through. Ryan has come in for some damage as well, and everybody behind, I think, has got caught up in that, including Sammy Shemsi, including Liam Bowman, while the championship leader Kai Pearson's made up 8 positions on the opening lap of the sprint. He's got Louis Valentin right behind him. A lot of drivers falling foul in that final sector.
And Quantum trying to find a way... sorry, is that Joe Murphy? Sorry. Trying to find a way past Stefano, but it's not happening at the moment. Quantum are just a little bit further back for the time being. Let's have a look at the tyres that have been on use for the drivers further below. They are all going onto the set of soft tyres as Kai Pearson has made a mistake, I think. As we're concentrating on this little battle, Kai Pearson has dropped 2 places.
Yeah, Louis Valentin was up his inside at the first corner. I don't know what happened beyond that, but Keke in all of this, another driver that was starting from the back because he put on intermediate tyres for the final run in qualifying, is up into 12th as well. No points for that, of course, and he's got a pretty big job in trying to hold on to Louis and Kai behind him, but either way, an entertaining start at the back. Enzo still has the lead. Enzo has the fastest lap, quickly snatched by Stefano, whose soft tyres are still going to be the fastest of anybody out there. He's pulling to the right-hand side of Aurelian. No DRS just yet, as they've not yet had a detection point. He's got to be late on the brakes here. He's not got much ERS available to him, but unsurprisingly, the grip makes the work a lot easier for him at the first corner.
Looking at the front wing of Kai Pearson, it looks like he's got front right end plate damage, and that is not ideal. He is just limping around the track, and he will. That just doesn't bode well unless he's just desperate not to go on a set of softs. I'm not sure his mentality behind it at the moment, and that's just unfortunate for him, especially with his championship rival Louis Valentin in 13. We missed through all that. Aurelian then.
There might have been.
Are you good?
Your face is just completely froze on my screen, so I wasn't sure what was happening. You just sort of went into a complete freeze frame. Sorry about that. It's my crap internet, I should just say, and my crap laptop. But either way, I think there was contact. It was a late move from Louis Valentin, so I'm not sure if there'll be any words exchanged about that. It didn't look like there was contact firsthand, but it might have been the aftermath into turn 4, say. I don't want to really put a pin on that and say anything definitive, but Louis Valentin is back up into P12. Keke, unfortunately, no answer because of that DRS for almost a kilometre down that start-finish straight. Furious is ahead of Kai Pearson, and the 4 at the back on the soft tyres having a lonely race as well. Sammy Shemsi getting the fastest lap as a result.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was your end or my end, but you've got now. There's a funny image on your side, so yeah, this is not going well for us behind the scenes. Let's just say, but Aurelian trying to keep up with Stefano, who at the moment is keeping Cameron Dowds and Enzo for company at the top. His tyres obviously the better ones to be on at the moment, but I reckon come lap 5 or 6, they're going to start to feel a little bit dodgy.
Yeah, they will. Hope I've just tried to flick something, so hopefully I've not done anything too bad on my end, but at least there is a bit of a pause to try and fix the issues. It's me in Mexico. I've gone from Jarno Otmir to F7R Jeroen, overtaking Quantum at this circuit, and I'll tell you what, I wouldn't have it any other way. Down the inside goes Joe Murphy as well. He's back ahead of Aurelian, holding on to that P4. He screamed, according to BRT James, when he took P3 in qualifying. This is how much it's meaning to him at the moment. Here comes Stefano, who's after P2. Will Cameron Downs leave the room? Yes, he does, but Stefano wasn't quite committed enough. He's got to make these moves soon, though, otherwise those tyres will just drop off and he'll have no chance.
Yeah, he's got to... well, does he go down the route of really picking on Cameron Downs to get him rid of the DRS defence that Cameron Downs has because of being in the second of Enzo, or does he just throw it up the inside at turn 1 and hope for the best? I know that sounds horrible and not racer-like, but that's not how it's meant. It's just more like Daniel Ricciardo-esque dive of like kind of late braking.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to try and do something. If this was a longer Grand Prix format, then yeah, maybe he would. But with points being on the table at the moment, some good points for Stefano. Cameron Downs has feigned to the inside. I thought he might have been the one making the move into. Oh no! Oh, that's awful. Oh, that's genuinely awful.
It looked like he was going for the move. It looked like he was in control of it until he wasn't, and he wasn't in control of the internet, and then boom, all of a sudden, he's now down to 5th place. And it looks like in the chat, his electrics have gone out in the house, so it's not even an internet problem. It is just, it's electrical this time, and Cameron Downs now dropping down the order. Heartbreaking.
Oh, Dabble's crashed. Lifeline! Lifeline! It's a safety car. Cameron Downs, get that power back on. You've been saved by NVR Gabble, who's crashed on the entrance of turn 10. Oh dear.
Now, do people throw themselves into the pits? This is a perfect opportunity for Kai Pearson. I'm expecting Kai Pearson to go in the pits, get that front wing prepared, but no one else is following suit. Saying that, Aurelian, Giron, Rick, Quantum. Yeah, there's a lot of people going in. Ooh, some penalties popping up.
Tom's got a 5-second penalty for a collision. This is a masterclass, I have to say, from Aurelian, from Giron. Both coming into the pit lane because they've triggered everything behind them. The top 4, they've all made massive errors. I'll exclude Cameron Downs out of that, actually. He didn't really have much of a choice in that pit stop phase, but the top 3 have left themselves very, very vulnerable to the end of this sprint here. It could be a second pole position start for Aurelian based on the pit stop activity.
We will have to wait and see. Enzo must be, well, not shooting himself, but kicking himself for not throwing himself into the pits. Stefano, what would you have done in his position? That is, I don't want to say insane, but he's on a set of softs. Surely you would have replaced that. Surely you would have wanted to replace those tyres.
Considering they are said to last competitively for around laps. At the end of lap 6, it's an absolute no-brainer to get in there. You've got all the soft tyres available in the world following a race restart. I cannot believe he's not been into the pit lane. They've now caught up to the back of the safety car, which means if they were to pit, they lose all of their track positions, so he won't do so now. Stefano's ruined in this race. He might have to do some of the hold-up work for Giron potentially when he gets past, but either way, that is a pretty big grid start thrown away. Yeah,
and Enzo, I don't want to say looked comfortable, but him and Cameron, they looked like they were in a good position. Obviously, Cameron's not here at the moment. He's not rejoined the session. But Shazoo Tom's going into the pits, I'm presuming to get rid of that 5-second penalty. He's got time, I think, possibly to get through that as well. I don't think Sami Shemsi is going to catch up to him in time, though he might do as he's coming through the stadium section now. But yeah, and that's this safety car, and I don't want to say it's ruined the race for Enzo, but it's not helped him at all.
It's not. I think he did the right thing staying out, because I think a lot of people would have gone opposite to him had he have come into the pit lane. So Again, it's a case of hindsight. It's always an argument to why drivers don't want safety cars on in league racing. Massive debate in the past week about that, in fact, with myself getting involved with that a little bit. It's fantastic for us. It has massively shaken up the sprint race here. But in a race where Enzo should just simply have to drive consistently, he's made the better strategy call, in my opinion, than Stefano to go on for the medium tyres. He's now been punished by this safety car and has now got to try and do the defensive work.
Though, I suppose the crucial element to this is the safety car's not coming in this lap. I haven't seen the message. He's really still back up close to the back end of that safety car. So it means that there's only 4 laps of racing for Enzo. Oh, no, 3 laps, I think. Is it 3 laps? Yeah, 3 laps of racing, I think. And if he holds up and he uses defensive, if he uses his car and his positioning wisely, he's still got a great chance. The only problem, and we've mentioned it before, is the start-finish straight.
It is. There'll be DRS available on the final lap, but that won't be active down the start-finish straight, nor in the run to turn 4. So that's the only saving grace, I think, for some of these guys that have left themselves pondering about how they're going to approach the end of this race. But that start-finish straight is still long enough to use the slipstream. If you have the battery advantage, you dump it. You get the move done there and then, because if you hang about, and you're going to start getting stuck in those chicanes and left seeing your rivals go flying up the road. Yeah, we should be in at the end of this lap. It was the AlphaTauri of OP Ryan catching up. Shizu Tom did the right thing as well, by the way, getting rid of the 5-second penalty, because it was either him finishing last by penalties or finishing last on track. And, well, he's still got some hope, you could say, from 16th to...
You know what? Who it doesn't help all this bunching back up is Louis Valentine. He's got 3 seconds penalty. Safety car is in this lap. So, the de facto safety car will be Enzo. He will be taking over that role from this point until we get racing underway back again. But you know what? Louis Valentine done all that hard work. Could have got some points had it not been for that safety car. However, we are going to get racing. Where do you go if you're Enzo? Do you go at turn 14, 15, or do you wait as late as turn 17?
Well, I think he's put the power down now, so the answer is there for us all to see. He went just as he had that little burst coming out of turn 15. It's where cars are bunched up. It's probably the best time to go. It did give him the best gap. Stefano has responded well. He won't make the move into the first corner, but Aurelian and Jeroen are going side by side. The F7R team will not want to make contact into the first corner. Jeroen has a little look, but he doesn't commit to making the move on the Aston Martin. They're through the ghosted Cameron Downs, as is half the pack by this point, and onwards they go to try and attack the top 3.
Jeroen is trying to find a way past the Aston Martin. It's not happening at the moment, and if anything, this is helping Enzo. This is helping Stefano just eke a little bit more of a gap out. It's probably not going to help Joe Murphy, because Joe Murphy's just right in front of them and they're battling away, squabbling as they head into turn 7. This is a bit where Enzo can really start trying to pull away, obviously with Stefano as well. There is nearly a second gap between Stefano and Murphy, and Aurelian is desperately pushing his car up the inside of the turn that's not a turn and into turn 12. He has got past Joe Murphy.
And wide goes Stefano. He'll be really struggling. Jeroen is up the inside there as well. It'll be slightly squeezed off there, but I think within the limits again. Tight to that outside wall on the exit of the Peraltada. Now he's back into the slipstream is the Dutch driver. Rick is there as well, and Jeroen is trying to push Rick across because they both want the slipstream. Rick is going to try and take 2 cars into the first corner here. Will be a brilliant move if he can get it done. Oh, Jeroen's got into the back of him. Smashed his front wing in the process. Joe Murphy has had to go wide. He's tried to fight it back up the inside. That was far too late on the brakes, you have to say. He lost 2 positions there momentarily, and he wanted to try and limit the damage. In doing so, he's caused himself some damage.
It's not ideal at all, and I think that's Keke trying to get himself through some of this as well. Penalties galore. Quantum got 5 seconds through all this as well. We better go back up to the front runners of this Grand Prix, because it won't be long until Aurelian is caught up to Enzo. This is going to be the battle for the lead, and it looks, the win of this sprint race, and it's looking very much all Aurelian right now, even though he's sat second place. Rick is desperately trying to find a way past Stefano. But if you're Enzo, I mean, you're a sitting duck, surely.
He might well be. He won't have DRS to use, Will Aurelian, for this straight. Although it is now enabled, the slipstream 2/10 gap it was as they crossed the line. It was close enough for Aurelian to be alongside by the time they get to the first corner. Enzo's still got some ERS, but Aurelian under braking down the inside. Enzo's going to try and hold it in there. He wants to start on pole position. Second wouldn't be too bad, considering he potentially made the wrong call there under that safety car. For those of you joining from Tier 2, having their race just finished, you are seeing a side-by-side battle for the lead at the end of the sprint. Enzo still trying to fight it with the ERS he's got available. He's miles off the track. Aurelian is not going to let him back on. That should seal the deal.
That should seal the deal, but there is a DRS detection point that Enzo could use to his advantage. There's something happened to Louis Valentine, because he's gone all the way down the field. Kai Pearson's got himself up into 9th place, directly behind Flotman. I don't think Enzo's got anything in the tank, though, to attack the Aston Martin driver as they head on down. Shazoo Rick's going to pick up a 3rd place finish here, and that's going to be great for him. And all of this goes down to that safety car, but what a race. Aurelian has got himself into it. The sprint race really came alive because of that safety car, and he's going to take victory. A 2nd pole position for the feature race he'll have. Enzo, so close but so far. Shazoo Rick's going to come home in 3rd place. Murphy, though, really holding everyone up and somehow clinging on to 5th place. What a drive from Murphy.
I'm just laughing at Keke's 20-second penalty. So, unfortunately, that's not ideal at the end of the race. Driver of the day by the game for the sprint race given to Kai Pearson. But you have to say, what an entertaining end to the sprint that was. With a French 1-2, a Dutch 3-4, and Joe Murphy having to hold on to P5 in some difficult circumstances. Jeroen getting damaged. Kai Pearson really out of all of that. You didn't fancy him after the lap 1 chaos at the hairpin. Finishes 7th. He's got the advantage over Sammy, Liam and Louis Valentine once again. It's a perfect ending to what was a shaky start.
Now, what Shazoo Tom up into 13th place after that penalty as well. That's the that 5 second that he got. He went into the pit lane and sorted it out and got rid of it, and it's going to be interesting to see what happened to Louis Valentine, because he is down in 16th place for this main race. We've seen, though, the carnage that this race can cause, so it's not over and done with. Louis Valentine still has and I say this race, this series has managed to have, it's not over until that checkered flag has been waved, has it? Because I remember Las Vegas, we couldn't tell who was going to win. There's always opportunities, and Louis Valentine, he's a good driver, so he knows how to handle the pressure.
I mean, how long did that train last for in Las Vegas? It went right down to the wire. We saw a change of leadership on the final lap, mostly thanks to the long straight. So, again, this is going to be another one that really does go far in this race without us knowing who's winning for sure. We've had the Mateos, we've had the Furiouses this season, but this is back to the normal sort of randomness that we get about these tracks with long straights. A few words being exchanged in our Tier 1 chat, which of course is interesting to get into. We've seen how the softs can struggle, but a few drivers might still fancy bolting them on for the start of this race based on some of the progress that was made against the harder tyres.
Well, and this could be why Stefano didn't pit, is because of the usage of soft tyres. He didn't want to waste that extra set into the race, because another safety car could happen. He could have used a set of softs at the beginning of this race, then gone on to the medium, and another safety car towards the end of the feature race which means that his safety cars, his safety cars, his soft tyres would have probably been depleted. I'm not sure on the tyre allocations for the race, and whether it takes into account taking away a set for qualifying or not. But he's yeah, that could have been his strategy, and it didn't work out horrendously bad for him. He still was able to have a battle at least.
It wasn't bad to him. I mean, fair play for finishing fourth, and I really didn't fancy him to stay there at all. I mean, you can thank Jeroen and his collision with Rick and Joe Murphy for some of the holding up work that he did behind, but it's a fresh start now. All of the sprint race wrongs can be put right, hopefully, in this 36 laps to come. Yeah, let's see.
Who's your pick? Chat as well. Let us know who do you think's going to take victory here. Hopefully, we can get Cameron Dowds back in time if his power is sorted. But let us know who you think is going to take victory here in the main feature race of WOR Mexico Grand Prix. Joseph, question to you.
Well, unfortunately, I picked Cameron Dowds for the sprints. He disconnected. Hopefully, the same fate doesn't happen to the driver that I'm going to pick now, which is Enzo. I feel like he was unlucky in the sprint. I feel like he's got some fantastic race pace in him, and he will take, I think, his first win of the season.
That's at the moment it's going to be it's going to be interesting. For me, it's down to what Joe Murphy does. If he goes on to the softs to start the race, I reckon it might be Enzo. If he starts on the hards, I'm going to back Joe Murphy, personally. I don't know why. You know, when you just got that gut feeling about something. I've just got that gut feeling that if Joe Murphy starts on the hards, we know how, from Texas, we know how, I don't want to say inventive, but how smart he's the racer brain in him can work. So I don't know why. I just think Joe Murphy's got a chance tonight. It could be none of them. It could be Louis Valentine from 18th place on the grid.
It could be. I mean, Kai's 7th, but take it away.
We are back here, ready and waiting, and we are on 5 laps for the Mexico Grand Prix, and away we go. Aurelian is going to be holding position starting straight away. Has he had a good start? We'll have to wait and see. He has had a good start. Enzo's had to dip behind to get back a little bit of the slipstream. Up the inside he goes now. Where does Rick go? Rick's desperate to try and find a place in all this, but it is going to be Enzo that surely takes the lead. He does not. He holds back in the lead of this Grand Prix as they exit turn 3. Down into turn 4 they go. And there is a little bit of a mistake, I think, from Flotman. He's been caught by Jeroen there. And in the background, that's where the action is happening. And Jeroen and Flotman, side by side, desperately trying to get a one over on each other. But it's just not happening. And Kai Pearson can't find a way through either.
Oh, and forcing off the track there. Sammy Shemsi on Liam Bowman. Not sure he thought he was there or not. Liam Bowman back up the inside. He's got that one done a little more fairly down the inside of turn 7. This is all for some quite significant positions at the moment because everybody has opted for the hard compound tyres, excluding Cameron Dowds, who had no choice over that start. He's still with that power. Flotman defending now on F7R Jeroen. He was ghosted a little earlier. There's another tap in the back from Kai Pearson, who stays 7th after the opening lap. I mean, if he made the progress he did in the sprint, the same in the race, he'd be leading right now. But unfortunately, it's just not that easy, is it? Aurelian leads after the first lap. Enzo sitting sweet in second. Rick as well in a pretty rare appearance for him. Stefano in 4th. Flotman 5th. Jeroen attacking. And already no battery. OP Flotman.
What a waste. I don't want to say a waste. What a usage of battery for him. That's not ideal at all. As we go, just to check the tyres situation, Quantum has decided to pit. I wonder if he's picked up damage up the inside. Furious has a look at Macho. Shizu Macho's in trouble from the Alfa Romeo here. He's going to push him a little bit wide. Does Liam Bowman try and take something out of this? He does not, but there is a little bit of contact, a little bit of bumping between them as they head on through turn 6 there. They're a little bit of a hairpinny style corner, and hopefully there's no major damage, but we know how significant that orange damage can be.
Seen some pretty big clashes so far this evening, and when anything goes flying off your car visually, you know you're going to be in for a pretty rough time. A word for you, Avatar, asking about tyres. Should be on the screen now. Everybody on the hards that is currently in the race. Stefano against Flopman. I think there might have been a bit of a lag there in terms of a change of position. But Flopman sets the fastest lap of the race. Maybe that ERS usage is benefiting him. He's using a lot. The top four, I should say, still have over 50% available to them. The DRS is now enabled. Might start to see that little bit of teamwork, not direct teamwork, but that swapping of position that we so often see from the front runners.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if it will actually happen. Enzo, he's pulling out to get fresh air, to get the fresh air a little bit from Aurelian. Aurelian doing a good job at the moment, holding back Enzo. And, well, I feel like may have jinxed Murphy. He's down 8th places. He's down into 8th place, down 3 positions.
He is down 3 positions, but it's about picking himself up, staying in this train. That's the most important thing. Do not let that gap to Kai Pearson surmount to over a second, because that's where you just start losing more and more and more positions at the moment. There's not really much to report, is there, in terms of changes so far. It will be a case of when the train starts to split up, there will be a little bit more movement. It could start now. Enzo has DRS available to him for the first time down the start-finish straight. The gap is only 0.3. He's got 80% of his battery available to him. He'll sit in the slipstream. He's going to have no choice but to go for the move here, because if he backs off anymore, Rick would be sailing straight past both of them. So a wise decision from Enzo. Here comes Rick as well. Didn't fancy it in the end.
No, I think that positional change from Enzo actually, well, like you quite rightly mentioned, helped stopping Rick going through. He's decided to stay behind, but the positional change has happened. Look in the background, Stefano trying to find a little bit of extra grip, opening that DRS, while a lot of drivers from turn 3 to 4 didn't have their DRS opened. Fastest lap of the race has changed hands, and not like you mentioned, not much report. And this is sometimes what Mexico can bring, because these drivers are so in tune and quite quick. There's only 2 trains that we've got at the moment. Sometimes we get 4 or 5, and that's when the action really starts happening. But I suppose it should be time to have a look at Macho, because he is really under pressure from Furious and Sammy Shemsey and Liam Bowman.
Well, this is one way to split the train even more. Macho's being passed around in a pinball machine at the moment. Same again at the hairpin. I mean, this is... okay, Liam Bowman almost stopping there on the exit. Might have picked up an illegal overtake in all of that, and he'll have to try and get past Macho for the second time here, who lost P9, now down to P12, thanks to Liam Bowman's overtake. Louis Valentin, Hand of Anger going up. They just cannot race side by side down the start-finish straight. It's wide enough for 3, 4, maybe 5 cars if you're lucky. Macho's trying to go around the outside of Ogwin, who's now getting involved as well. Louis Valentin, 3-second penalty. Off into the side pod of the Ferrari goes Sammy Shemsey. He's off the circuit now as well. While all that is happening, Stefano and Rick are making contact. They're inside of each other for P3.
Oh my goodness me, what is going on? That is some weird decision makings going there, and ideal. Keke and Tom swapping positions there. Louis Valentin got tagged and nearly, half span, and then that's where he got his penalty from. And then second race in a row, from the sprint race to the feature race, he's got an early penalty, 3 seconds, not ideal at all. And I say not ideal at all because it's cost him massively.
Yes, could be Louis Valentin's second pointless race of the season so far. It's, only one was back in Bahrain. Mind you, he only scored 1 point in Silverstone, 2 points in Texas. He has overcome some pretty big obstacles so far this season to finish on the podium in the other 3 races that I didn't mention. It's going to be another one of those for him today. He's done it before. He'll have to do it again in terms of a comeback. Round the outside of Macho is his first attempt into the first corner. He's got it done. Macho sort of backs out of that one if he can do. There was a move further forward. Stefano got ahead of Aurelian. F7R23 looking to attack the Veloce Academy driver of Enzo. No, it's not a World Online Racing Legacy Division race, but it is very much got that competitive edge to it.
It definitely does, and Well, Stefano looks well since his insertion into Suzuki Rick's Red Bull. He's looking like a much quicker driver, and he's pushing on now. And Enzo could be in a little bit of trouble. Kai Pearson's not made much inroads into F7 Giron either. So at the moment, the leaders just battling away like I say they should, just nice and calmly. But that second train is 3.2 seconds behind.
Yeah, it is. It's opened up massively. I think from the moment it was 1.5 seconds, you'd think very difficult to recover without doing the Flopman strategy of burning all of your ERS. But even for Liam Bowman in 9th, 3 seconds behind Joe Murphy now, it's not worth doing. I think you've just got to try and find the raw speeds over the course of multiple laps here. Kai Pearson is up the inside of Jeroen, and there's Flopman sideways. He's made contact with Rick. 2 separate moves going on there. One of them ended a lot worse than the other. Some weaving in frustration from Flopman. It feels like we turn our attention to one thing, something else happens, and there is one frustrated Flopman.
Yeah, it doesn't. Very. I don't want to say angry, but that's not ideal for some of them. Kai Pearson finally getting past Giron though, and I mean it's not a team event, but I wonder if Rick will know his on race day teammate is trying to carve his way through the field and maybe hold up a little bit, but I don't think he will do at all. And yeah, it's all happening. But not at the right. I say the right times. All seems to be happening all at once.
It does. Welcome to league racing. In that case, some of you, if you're watching console for the first time, it gets a bit like this sometimes. But that's okay because we've had some equally as clean and brilliant races so far this season as well. Here comes Stefano. He might well go for it here. He might well be speaking with Aurelian, which wouldn't be against the rules, but Aurelian's broke far too late. He had so much time to react to that situation as it unfolded, but has almost taken his front wing off at the first corner. We've seen that a few too many times at Turn 1 now. Drivers not getting their braking points correct. I feel for them. They're without line. It's a pretty unfamiliar lap 7 on hard situation, but it's a risky game they're playing.
It definitely is, and there was a swap in positions with Murphy overtaking Giron as well. So the F7R guys losing a few positions, and Aurelian, that was a big mistake there. And it looks like Stefano is trying to build a little bit of a gap now to Enzo.
He is. There's not been too much significant ERS usage, and he will just have to soak up the fact that Enzo will have DRS the same way as Stefano did to make the move. But either way, Stefano is in a very good position at the moment. Flopman, Kai Pearson, I think I can see a move coming here. Kai Pearson really close coming out of the Peraltada, and DRS open, and immediately alongside and ahead of OP Flopman, 4th and 5th now for the Red Bull drivers that have had some brilliant names in that car throughout the course of the season. Rick is another one, and Flopman's back down the inside of Kai Pearson. Sort of charged himself up to go again, but Kai Pearson does well to defend, and he's got 5th settled.
And it looks like Flopman may have made a little bit of a mistake at the exit of turn 3, and it's allowed Joe Murphy through. A nice, easy overtake there. Furious attacking. Well, no, I take that back. Furious isn't attacking Liam Bowman. He decided to stay behind. He didn't have his DRS open. Ogween behind did, but no overtake happened. Louis Valentine up into 12th place. Sammy Shemsi in 13th. These two are in a championship battle. The championship leaders in 5th. It's not going well for them at all. Let's go back to the leaders, as I think Enzo's going to charge himself into attacking Stefano this time around. If you're going to go onto the set of mediums, you're probably looking at 16 laps on that, so these guys won't pit for a while.
Yeah, it should be a pretty straightforward hard medium in this one, but as we saw in the sprint race, the safety car can change the minds of everybody. We might well get into a quota situation at this point in the race where, at this point, you're looking at a two-stop strategy with 2 sets of mediums. Here comes Enzo. He's got a full battery. He's lifting off here. He knows that he's got some buffer behind to F7R Aurelian. Then he'll go for the move into the first corner because Stefano wants him to have the race lead. And again, this is where it just gets risky, potentially complicated as drivers just try to get into the heads of one another, show them the door, and then and try and work with that. Louis Valentin and Liam Bowman side by side. Fair play to Louis Valentin, getting back in the midst of this pack. Liam Bowman is going to try and have to go up the inside. Yes, he is on the French driver. Well, he sent him right off the track there. That is forcing off if I've ever seen it. Louis Valentin will try and give him a taste of his own medicine. He keeps the position off track. Then up the inside goes Ogween. Of course, doubling up NVR on the outplayed racing driver there. Louis got to stay ahead into turn 7. And again, it's just not a great example of racing.
A little bit of frustration probably creeping in. I did see in the chat earlier that Liam Bowman wasn't happy with something that happened in the sprint race, so he's, it appears, brought it over into this one. OP Ryan trying to find a way past Macho, but it's not happening on this occasion. Let's go back to the leaders as Enzo and Stefano go for round 10. Or round 11, I should say. On lap 11 of 36, we've lost one driver, Gabor. Gabor decided that enough was enough and retired in the pit lane, so no safety car was out for that one. But we've had a few changes to the race lead, and Enzo, well, there's no complications this time around. Enzo wanted the lead into turn 1. So, not 100% sure what's happened on Joseph's side, but Stefano then going down into turn 4, staying behind, and it looks like Shazoo Rick and Kai Pearson are battling away. Kai does not want to hold up and decides, you know what, P4's mine, I'm going to make some moves. He's got his elbows out and displaced the Shazoo driver, and Joe Murphy has nearly had a way through as well. And Kai Pearson up into 4th, his weekend from starting plumb last in the sprint race because of a qualifying ban. He's now up into P4. Hopefully Joseph's back now.
I am. Sorry, I just had to quickly go on to mute right as that move was happening because my controller batteries decided to die. Either way, I'm back now though, and Enzo has a 7/10 buffer for this lap. It should mean that there will be no similar repeat going into the first corner. Hopefully it's fairly straightforward from now on. Liam Bowman's lost ground to Furious now as well. It's another driver that's just left his grasp. This is a bit unconventional for Liam Bowman. I don't think he likes this track too much. It's what he said so often. And what I was saying about Enzo and Stefano is that Stefano's got the move into the first corner and they were side by side. So no matter how big that gap seems to be with DRS, it is always coming down to that braking zone.
He's got the move done and dusted. Stefano, I think, maybe used a little bit of ERS just to get the move done. It's going to be down to when drivers decide to pit, when they how big the undercut is for them here. It's more strategic. It's like a game of Risk, really, or Age of Empires or chess. Let's go with more conventional chess than it is sometimes racing. You've got to get your elbows out, like we saw with Kai Pearson just a moment ago. But there's so much more strategic elements to it in Mexico.
The chess craze came back sort of this time last year. It was a very interesting time seeing everybody on their phones going head-to-heads on a game that they used to call everybody nerds for playing, but that is a separate side of the argument. They've all developed their strategic craft from playing this game, and Enzo is going back at F7R Stefano. Simple move, as we've said. Aurelian gaining as well, but it will only be a matter of time before we see that absolute pounce from 3rd or 4th from the likes of Aurelian, Kai Pearson, Rick as well, already and waiting to make the move as well. Joe Murphy was as low as 8th, has managed to fight his way back up to P6. It's the resilience we were talking about. Got, well, 2/3 of this race left to run. It's a long one here in Mexico. Very much feels like this train, as I mentioned earlier, could go right down to the wire.
Yeah, it could very well do. And the one driver that might be dropped from it is F7R Geron, because he's teetering on the edge, 0.8 of a second. He's struggling with the pace that the leaders are setting at the moment, and he could be in a world of nowhere very, very shortly, but he is keeping at the moment. I think he's, just desperately holding on and maybe just trying to save a little bit of ERS, and actually meaning he's using a little bit more just behind Ogween and Furious battling away. But it's looking more like Liam Bowman overtaking Furious than Furious overtaking Ogween at the moment. Let's see how it'll handle coming down. 0.6 of a second between Enzo and Stefano as they head down the start finish straight as well.
It is that 7/10 gap was enough to be overturned last time, and again Stefano's getting nearer. A bit of movement from Kai Pearson to break the slipstream. He doesn't look too interested at the moment. He's just seeing what unfolds in front of him. Furious is ahead of Ogween. Furious, fairly simple move there. I was just trying to work out what was going on in the exit with a pretty poor camera angle, but that train very much severed in the middle. Top 8, and then another 9 drivers before Quantum, and unfortunately Cameron Dowd still unable to get any power back. Someone move this man away from Scotland, because I think that is his bad luck, unfortunately.
Yes.
In front of the field, a lot less of the pedantic DRS games we were seeing earlier. Ogween and Furious have both got extremely wide into the first corner. That's because Liam Bowman is now involved and splitting them as well. Fantastic fight for P9. I'm fairly happy to just sit and watch this for a little while, but we've got to start thinking about pit stops soon as well, haven't we? Who goes for the undercut? Who stays out goes for the undercut, because both have been extremely viable options in the past. Well, I really do fancy someone like Kai Pearson, who's in 4th, who's got a little bit of time to bide and make his choice to go for the jump.
And he's in the position, really, that will kickstart the qualifying as well. And I'm not 100% sure, but we've got an advert running, and I'm not sure if there's problems. Hopefully.
I've got booking.com, if that's...
Anyway, let's not go on booking.com. We don't want to go to Mexico. Let's continue. Well, we do want to go to Mexico, the WR side of things. So we head on down as Furious trying to find his way back into P9 after Ogween and Liam Bowman took him out last time round.
I think the stream restarted itself. I don't know. It's now stopped again. So hopefully it's not too severe of a problem at this stage. Hopefully we'll bring it back to you in just a moment. I don't know if I could even be heard right now, but either way, if I can, welcome to the new stream. Welcome to lap 16 of 36. And yeah, the front of the field has stayed pretty much the same throughout the course of this one. Enzo up a position, Stefano up 2, and the de facto pole sitter, the semi-official pole sitter for this one, Aurelian, is made to be sitting in 3rd at the moment.
Well, I mean, I've got no issues with the stream my side, and I don't think I can still hear you. Everything's seeming...
Making the most of what is his 2nd appearance so far this season. As he's up the inside of Shizune Macho. He's forced him off the track there. Made the Ferrari pick up a 3-second penalty as well. So one day we'll see a move without contact.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I'm not sure what's going on in the lower end of the grid, because we don't seem to be getting a lot of contact further up. But Macho's made a position back as I think Aurelian has decided to throw the dice and gone into the pits, as has Murphy, Flopman and Giron.
Yeah, they have. This is the undercut we were talking about. It doesn't involve Kai Pearson, but it does involve Aurelian, who was sitting 3rd. Giron, who was sitting, I think, 6th in the end. Flopman in as well. This could be Aurelian into the race leads almost for certain by the end of this lap. That's if Enzo responds. It'll be a 50-50 split from hards to mediums for the remainder of the race. And not really that surprised that it's come this early, to be honest. I think they just want to get rid of these hard tyres. They trust in the mediums that they can do a good distance.
Yeah, a medium set can do really well, and it gives you the option as well to come in if there is a safety car as well, to set a set of softs or another set of mediums, depending when that safety car comes out as well. Interestingly, though, neither of the Red Bulls pitted on that one. I wonder which one pits this time, and I wonder if Enzo or Stefano decide to pit as well. That's the questions that we'll find out answers to very, very shortly. It's going to be literally moments away as they come around the final 2 corners. Do any of them dive into the pit lane? They do not.
No, they don't. I'm very surprised they're sticking to plan A. Clearly, Shazoo Rick does go in though, and he's seen that Kai Pearson, who he probably isn't communicating with tonight as a reserve driver, so to speak, does come in and take that decision for himself. But let's see where Aurelian comes out in comparison. It'll be our first real indicator of how much work the undercut has done. And Rick, only just getting the pit limiter off, sees 3 cars, 2 of them with DRS, 2 seconds up the road. It is a massive, massive gap and some big recovery work for the front runners to do when they come in.
Definitely is. There's loads of drivers, well, nearly half the grid, pretty much half the grid, because Gabor is out this Grand Prix, is gone into the pits. Louis Valentine up into 6 because of all the pit stops that have happened. Surprised he or Sami Shemzi hasn't decided to pit, but I suppose they're trying to go maybe a little bit. I mean, is it possible they're trying to push for to go to a set of soft tyres to the end of this Grand Prix?
Oh, soft tyres. I don't think they like the softs from a driver's POV, but if anyone's brave enough to stay out, I mean, we've sort of got this second train forming, Liam Bowman, Furious, and so on. One of them might have the freedom to do that, but Liam Bowman comes into the pit lane, Furious as well, no 5-second penalties for speeding, very easy to lock up a tyre going into that pit lane that's effectively a corner. Flotman fastest lap, Joe Murphy fastest lap, the top 3 still staying out here, and that means that Joe Murphy has free rein on Aurelian. This could be for tonight, has that first step to success. And Flotman has got through too, so Aurelian, who was front of the pit stop pack, has dropped to 3rd.
Yeah, that's not ideal for Aurelian, but Flotman and Murphy making sure they have, taken advantage of the situation, let's say. Kai Pearson, Stefano and Enzo still yet to come in. They're going to come strong at the end of this Grand Prix. It's just not happening all at the moment in time. Obviously, these guys on the medium compounded tyres are going to be quicker, but their tyres are going to be worse off at the end of the...
Yeah, that's the risk with the undercut. I think they know that, they accept that, they acknowledge that the end of the race is going to be a tough period for them. Kai Pearson is into the pit lane. Our championship leader is going on to a set of medium tyres, and, well, how far behind will he be compared to his teammate Rick, compared to the 3 drivers that have sailed up the road? Kai Pearson coming to the end of the pit lane now. Rick is through. How big is that gap between him and his Red Bull teammate? Well, it looks very big indeed. Flotman is ahead of Joe Murphy. That was a significant one. 3 seconds, the gap between the Red Bulls. And that's 1.5 seconds a lap that these medium tyres are worth at this stage.
Yeah, it's incredible, the undercut that's happened. And Flotman and Murphy and Aurelian have taken advantage of that quite severely. And I'm pretty certain Kai Pearson is going to take advantage of it when Stefano, Enzo and the rest, and the rest, just those 2 yet now to pit. And yeah, it's going to be a very, very difficult one to take, to be behind, but they've just got to keep their momentum going, their head in the game and fight away. But it's difficult, especially for, you look at Rick, 3 seconds behind Aurelian, he was right there with them.
He was right there with them into the pit. Stefano and Enzo, they're responding now as well. They've seen Kai Pearson come in and they know that they could fall as low as a net sort of 5th, 6th in this train based on what has happened. Keke's in as well. That frees up one of the obstacles for these guys. And Macho is in on this fight as well. I don't think he intends to be, and he's going to be boxed in here. Oh no, this contact. And that was almost Joe Murphy into the wall. That was clumsy from Macho. He's not in this fight, and he's taken out Joe Murphy, it looks like. Oh, there was a brief moment of lag. It looked like he stopped on the apex of the corner. Joe Murphy, through no fault of his own, has almost been sideswiped by Shizu Macho and then brake tested into the first corner. And now he's got 2 seconds to find, but luckily Flopman's stuck in the traffic again.
Yeah, that's not ideal at all. Quite gutting for that to happen for Joe Murphy, as Shizu Tom is being dispatched by Flopman there, but Flopman gets a penalty to boot with it, and that's not ideal for him. He's now got his OP teammate ahead of him, Louis Valentine. I wonder if Louis Valentine's going to just let him go with relative ease. He has done indeed. He knows that's not his race. As where is Kai Pearson? Kai Pearson is behind Macho, and he's probably just seen what's happened above and gone, you know what, I don't want any part of that.
Absolutely, Flopman. That is a big, big moment for Flopman. And Aurelian is ahead of Tom now as well, because he's coming to the pit lane. Joe Murphy's had to go in. He's picked up front wing damage. Oh, I am heartbroken for him. I really do feel for him. He's coming to the pit lane. There's the front wing change. And from looking like, with that Flopman penalty, that he had a really, really good chance of winning this race tonight, taking matters into his own hands again to make an undercut along with the seasoned veterans in the top tier of WOR. Oh, it's just completely gone all wrong for him.
And that's what I meant. That's why I mentioned him as a possible race winner, and obviously I've cursed him, unfortunately, and now he's got a lot of work to do. His poor Joe Murphy, and he's gone on to a set of softs, and they're not going to go. They will be hard pushed to go to the end of the Grand Prix, let's say. Sammy Shemsi and Louis Valentine yet to pit. Aurelian all over the back of Louis Valentine, his teammate. Look at this. He's trying to basically push him around this sweepy section, and he has got the move done. Shizu Rick just behind as well. Kai Pearson does get past Macho. Macho's holding Enzo up now, and there's Kai Pearson, though, Stefano is right behind him.
They're playing with fire here, some of these guys. Pushing each other, bullying each other. 2 different strategies ongoing. And, well, it looks like Sammy Shemsi and Louis Valentine will be going to the softs after all. Aurelian, though, is making the simple move on Sammy Shemsi to the right-hand side. Kai Pearson's got the fastest lap of the race. He's got P6 from F7R you're on. He'll have almost, I think, 2 positions by virtue of penalties. He'll have 2 positions by virtue of pit stops. Well, just an additional position, I should say. So he's still on for a podium here, Kai Pearson. It would be his, the top of my head, 5th of the season in 7 races, which is a pretty good record considering the 2 races that he hadn't have got a podium in are the ones he didn't finish in the points. So Kai Pearson back on form and back looking to have a step in the rostrum.
He's doing a good job at the moment, and he's all over the back of his championship rival. And this isn't for race position. Louis Valentine has actually, he's fighting it as well. He knows that this is the problem that he's got on the hands at the moment, and he's making sure Louis Valentine is forcing his way through. Definitely loads of afters, and Stefano has got his way through.
Well, this is just unbelievable, isn't it now? I mean, Kai Pearson had his elbows out in the exit of 12. Louis Valentine wanted to show it him back, and that's completely fair game when you feel frustrated. But there is a limit to what you can do, and they've cost themselves both the position to Stefano, and Euron has gone through, Kai Pearson has gone through, Euron now trying on Kai Pearson again. There's more contact. I'm still going back to what I was saying earlier. I don't think I've seen an overtake without contact this evening. Stefano goes back through. He's using his overtake. Kai Pearson doing the same thing, though. He's got more battery to hold on to P4 and make sure of it by the time they get to turn 4. And here's Euron being attacked by Enzo now as well, and they're still just driving into each other, it seems, every single time. When they get to these chicanes, it's clumsy throughout, but Enzo squeezes through. He's into 6th, and he's now back in this fight as well.
Not ideal at all. And Stefano, well, he had the position over Kai Pearson momentarily as there's a yellow flag for, I believe that could be Ogween's car that's coming out of the pit lane there. And Cameron Dowd still has yet to rejoin, and his race has run its course, I believe, as Flopman leading the way by 2.5 seconds to Aurelian. Shazoo Rick there in third place, with Kai Pearson trying to hound him down. But Stefano could very well re-attack Kai Pearson down the start-finish straight into turn 1.
He could indeed. Stefano gaining, and he sees the clear run. The Kai Pearson rear wing closed firmly, showing in the sponsorship. Oracle rear wing, of course. And Enzo's trying to get through on Stefano. So again, it was a top-up Stefano toss-up. Does he attack Kai Pearson? Does he stay behind? Because he was too far back, and then risk Enzo attacking him. Here Enzo comes again. Will he go for the move? Bit of lag on my end. It looked like Stefano was tagged based on the response from his Williams, but it looked like Enzo was nowhere near him. Either way, he's up the inside at turn 6. More contact as Stefano has to open up the room to allow the McLaren to attack, then squeezes him across the right-hand side of the circuit and shuts the door to deny him the opportunity to go for 5th place. While that's happened, Kai Pearson's nearly got a second on both of them.
That has worked massively in his favour as he's trying to get closer to that magical under-second marker to Shazoo Rick ahead of him, as Enzo can't find a way past Stefano just yet. And I wonder if there is just a server problem for F1 tonight, because there seems to be that little bit of lag throughout on this game. Unfortunately, there's been a few moments. Let's hope it keeps clearing itself up, though. Enzo still can't find a way past Stefano. I'm furious behind Liam Bowman trying to find a way through as well. But at the moment, 2 Red Bulls fighting just outside of a second of Aurelian. I mean, if you're Kai Pearson, do you really battle Rick, or do you just support him until he gets to that second, under a second to Aurelian, and then attack?
Well, he sees that Rick is flashing. He's not got much ERS, so the best thing to do there, and Rick saw it as well, so fair play to him. Let him go. Let Kai Pearson push. He's in the best position. 6 lap-old medium tyres compared to Aurelian and Flotman, both on 9. We've seen how much time fresher tyres have been worth throughout the course of this race so far. From the sprint to lap 27 of the main event, we have 9 laps to go when everybody crosses the line. I'm still seeing some prolonged lag from Rick, so again, hopefully this isn't a server problem. Hopefully Stefano's not going to have an issue in overtaking. He had a look into turn 12 because again, he senses that Rick is a bit vulnerable on those more warm medium tyres, but as they go onto the start-finish straight for the 28th time, the gap is coming down, both from Aurelian and then from Kai Pearson.
Yeah, and it looks like Stefano's going to find a way past Shazoo Rick as well. These tyres being in the way they are has just really cost some of them massively. And it seemed like Kai Pearson is getting the move done on Aurelian as well. And there goes Stefano on the other Red Bull. And he tries to switch back. Does Shazoo Rick. It just doesn't happen in the end. Kai Pearson 2.4 seconds away from Flotman and away from extending his championship lead.
Yeah, he has made massive, massive gains towards the title tonight. Perhaps he didn't expect it after being denied the opportunity to qualify. Having been joined, actually, by some of his championship rivals in that bottom 5 for the start of the race. Enzo's really retaliating now on Rick. He's frustrated that he's got a penalty. Off the circuit goes Rick. Rick gets a penalty in return. What or that is an equaliser if I've ever seen one. But again, the retaliation I've seen this evening, some of the daftness of overtakes, some of the contact that didn't need to be made, it's put a bit of a shadow on this race, because some drivers have been absolutely excellent. Kai Pearson has been one of them, in my opinion. I've not seen any issues with his racecraft tonight, and that is why he's taken that step towards the title. But we see now Stefano and Aurelian should be a fairly simple move with a 10th in it. DRS pulls to the right-hand side, but as I was saying, Rick is... oh, my words. They're driving into each other down the start-finish straight. I just can't see a world in which they think this is getting them anywhere.
Yeah, it's slightly frustrating, but it seems like there was I don't think it helps that there seems to be this lag hanging over us as well. It just doesn't seem like a good night to race on, unfortunately. However, we stick with it. Kai Pearson 1.6 seconds behind Flotman at 29 of 36. We've lost 2 drivers. Gabor and Ogween are the 2 drivers that have gone, and Cameron Downs is technically the 3rd. Unfortunately, he's had issues at home with power and unable to get through it. We've lost Murphy in this battle as well, which what could have been a race victory for the Alfa Romeo driver, and that is just seeming like it's extending further away for him, unfortunately. What could have been a fantastic race. Sami Shemsi down in 13th place, battling alongside OP Louis Valentin, as here comes Enzo trying to overtake Aurelian.
The championship was based on qualifying. Cameron Dowd would have, I think, 33 points in the last 2 races. He'll walk away from both races, unfortunately, with nothing due to connection and power outages, respectively. Liam Bowman back ahead of Furious. That feels like a battle that's been going on for a long time. We were talking about it before the pit stops. We continue to talk about it 7 laps from the end. Enzo is ahead of Aurelian. Again, people saying penalty removals. Yeah, there'll probably be a few of them. Aurelian, Rick, Jeroen, Liam Bowman, I think all involved in some sort of wheel-to-wheel contact that has contributed to their penalties. There's got to be a strong case for it, of course, because I don't think many drivers are too innocent tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately, it might mean that there's more penalties from the stewards. The stewards are going to be busy from this one. 1.3 seconds between Kai Pearson and Flotman. And to echo your words, this is possibly one of the worst races we've had this season because of it. And you know what? I'm questioning the lag that we've had tonight. It's not been its usual self, let's say. If you can call a lobby having a usual self.
Yeah, I mean, there's been lag throughout. I mean, even the stream had enough at one point. Probably in frustration. But Stefano, no, not going to go for the move on Kai Pearson. Again, I think that's fair enough, being in a position where he has still a lap fresher tyres than Kai. Kai is inevitably going to get Flotman. Stefano might go for that sort of double move that we've seen on a few occasions this season, particularly from the McLarens back in round 1 on Mubarak. Before they made their pit stops. But further down the order, Keke, Sami Shemsi, side by side again. 2 drivers that started lower than they were anticipating. 2 drivers that have not been able to fight back into the points. Sami Shemsi, I should say. Well, he's not even going to gain anything off penalties. It'll be another pointless round for him. It'll be his 3rd of the season if this carries on.
Not ideal for Sami, as we saw Jeroen getting double passed by Liam Bowman and Furious. His early pit stop, like he did last week at Singapore, hasn't worked to his advantage this time around. It looks like OP Ryan's going to go for him this time around. Kai Pearson holding station at the moment in front of Stefano and Enzo. Let's go back quickly to OP Ryan, if I can get there in time, as he tries to dispatch Jeroen. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to this time around of asking, but Kai Pearson is within a second of Flotman, and Flotman could very well be in trouble here, as here comes OP Ryan and Jeroen on Furious.
Yeah, and you're on wide there. He takes a tight line into 2. Furious will try and cut back into 3. Again, he'll see the red lights flashing on the rear of the Williams. He'll go for the tighter inside line gap. It will be perfect for him when he arrives at the braking zone to go up the inside. Jeroen has no answer for it. And so Furious is in P8. Will be a net 7th with Bowman's penalty. Kai Pearson's arrived on the back of Flotman, Stefano 2, Enzo, Aurelian and Rick. We're back to square 1 with the train that we had at the start of the race for so long. It's reconvened with a range of different tyre wear we have going on in the top 6 at the moment. Flotman with the penalty. He could drop to as low as P4 and entirely miss out on this podium. Again, another near perfect race from the driver that sports a Welsh flag. I don't think there's any real affiliation, but I think he'll be happy to see it up there anyway, but it will need a miracle.
Yeah, he'd need a penalty probably to Stefano and Aurelian at this rate. Kai Pearson having to defend from Stefano, and let's not forget Stefano and Enzo have the better, and a safety car is out. What is the cause of that? Is it Louis Valentin and Shizou Tom that's caused that? It's no front wing for Shizou Tom, and a change of tyres for Louis Valentin, and Murphy getting a drive-through penalty. Oh my goodness, right? He is having a absolute terror of a race. Is poor old Joe Murphy. But this incident that possibly is caused by Louis Valentine and Shizou Tom is helped them because the safety cars come out and they've got fresh tyres.
What do you even say, considering I wasn't looking at the screen? I look up and a safety car has come out. This is where we get back into the debate, and there might be a few upset people tonight, and I completely sympathise at this stage in the race where what on earth has this come out for, other than the front wing damage, which is perhaps a little bit excessive. Will anybody come into the pit lane? I think they'll all come into the pit lane because they've seen what happened in the sprint race with vulnerability on the medium tyres. Liam Bowman, does he stay out? Yes, he does. He's going to use that 3-second penalty. Despite that, he's going to stay out here and he's going to take the lead on track. It might be better for him considering the two drivers behind also have 3-second penalties.
Sami Shemsi is in P3.
Net first.
Wow. Wasn't expecting that.
Right.
Lap 34. Is a safety car coming in this lap?
Yes, it will have to. Yep.
Oh my goodness me. The drivers, Louis Valentine might not actually catch up. Keke's gone into the pits. Oh goodness me. So the fresh tyres, some of these drivers might not get a chance to use them. And I wonder if Liam Bowman is going to use this to his advantage and bolt straight away instead of holding the grid up.
Well, thank you, Tom, and thank you, Louis, for completely pestering everything we had planned to recite, recall, and deliver in terms of commentary for the end of this race, because that has completely thrown away the script, the potential script that Kai Pearson, Stefano were attacking Flotman. Flotman, who was in the lead of the race, now dropping to 4th, and will be the first car on a set of soft tyres to be attacking our front three, who stayed out. So, what on earth happens here? Not everybody's caught up to the safety car. Joe Murphy retiring because he would have had to serve a drive-through. Completely awful luck on his part tonight, and you can't help but feel for the young man. Let's go racing again, though. Liam Bowman has control of the safety car restart. He didn't think he'll have this scenario at all just 2 minutes ago, but we're back racing again.
And Kai Pearson already trying to attack Flotman. This is incredible work from Kai Pearson, and he's unable to get the work done. Sami Shemsi's going to get past Giron, I think, in all this. This is going to be hectic into turn 1. Is there going to be problematic around the outside from Kai Pearson? Surely not Kai Pearson.
Oh, he's around! The championship leader is around! He's been pinched! It was 3 wide with Sami Shemsi there and OP Flotman. And after all of that, he was on for the race win. He is down and almost out of the points running. He's got an intact front wing, so he'll be attacking right till the end of the race. But the championship leader suffers another big blow here tonight. Enzo, contact with Stefano. Stefano, contact with Liam Bowman. Stefano's now on course for the race win. His first of the season, his first in WOR.
Oh, Flotman is up the inside, attacking Giron. Giron is pushing him. This is not over yet by any means. They're down into turn 12, into the final lap, and Flotman leads for the time being. 2 Williams in second and third, respectively, the 2 F7R guys. And Enzo just trying to find a way through that you just can't really say what is going on all at once. But Flotman has a 1 second gap to all this. Aurelian in 6th place, Louis Valentine in 11th, Kai Pearson in 6th, Sami Shemsi down into 13th. What's happened to him? But here comes Enzo up the inside, really being pushed off by Giron there. It has not been ideal at all.
Enzo holding on there. Stefano makes contact with his teammate. Oh, it's a Williams civil war on the final lap. Further contact. Yuruna's got around. Kai Pearson is in a points-paying position if he overtakes his closest man in the championship, Louis Valentin. Down the inside he goes. He knows that would be enough to sort of satisfy his championship standings going into tonight. More contact, Louis Valentin on the inside of turn number 6. Keeping it clean this time around, but that was almost Kai Pearson around for the second time. Furious is ahead of Bowman. Furious is going to be on the podium for the second time this season as it stands. And Stefano, who's taken out his teammate on the final lap by leaving very little room at the first corner, is well and truly on for victory in the final sector.
I don't know how to end this one, but Flotman is going to cross the line. Through the stadium he goes. He's got Enzo for company, 8 cents of a second back. Stefano, 1 second back. Kai Pearson's out of this Grand Prix. Something else has happened back on. And oh, goodness me. I don't know how to end it. Wow. Shazoo Tom into 9th currently. Giron crossing the line. Louis Valentin in 11th. From getting a win thrown out of the way, Kai Pearson is at non-point scoring position. I have no words to end this one, and I don't think we will be getting a podium interview here tonight, Joseph, at all. But we will do a quick rundown of that. But that was a hectic final few laps because of that safety car. Let's do an order rundown of the order before, I suppose, the stewards have a look at the penalties. And I'll let Joseph possibly calm down a little bit because I know he is probably going to be pretty angry with that, and I can see it in his face before we move to that screen. It is Stefano, Aurelian and Flotman on the podiums for the time being. Enzo in 4th place, 5th place to Furious, Shazoo Rick in 6th, 7th to Sammy Shemzi, Liam Bowman in 8th, 9th to Shazoo Tom, 10th place to Jerome. This is provisional. I'm going to say that now because the stewards have a lot of work to do. Louis Valentine in 11th, 12th to Keke, Quantum in 13th, 14th to Macho, OP Ryan in 15th. Kai Pearson will classify in 16th place. Non-finishers for Cameron Dowds, Joe Murphy, Ogween and Gabble. I don't think we get paid enough to sugarcoat that one. What I really no, I've got nothing. Wow, that is an end to the Grand Prix that I never thought I would see.
Well, I have the standings to my right on my laptop screen, and well, the top 2 have gone pointless. Sammy Shemsi finishes 7th. He's sort of there, isn't he? I mean, a 6-point gain takes him to 27 points behind. If that's the one positive you can take from that race, is that it got a little bit closer behind Kai and Louis. There's not many positives you can read from that because it's sort of mitigated the championship fight, hasn't it? With neither contender scoring, and Enzo, to be fair to him, gets a good result and I think jumps both Bowman and Sammy. So that's about the only change we can discuss tonight because everything else has just been chaotic, I'm afraid. I wholeheartedly want to say that it's down to the lobby and how the lag was there. Really set the horrendousness off. That ending, however, not. That was. Let's not go into detail on that. But that safety car robbed us of an interesting final few laps. So let's talk about that because that would have been an interesting final, wouldn't it? Kai Pearson, Stefano, and Enzo all on the fresher medium tyres. Yeah, again, sprint and race, we've just sort of been denied a bit of a natural conclusion, but such is league racing. We always have those late safety cars every once in a while. Tonight, I knew it wasn't going to go well from the moment it was deployed because with the wheel-to-wheel contact we saw, and everybody trying to get through on drivers with penalties. Having half the grid on penalties for a start is not a particularly great look, and then it's all about trying to fight your way through them and obstacles and just about everything that could have potentially played havoc with that safety car did, unfortunately.
Just got the console calendar up there, and it's Portimao next, Portugal, and Belgium, Austria, and China. And let's talk on to next week's race and obviously hope for better. But Portimao, a tight circuit. I think is it turn 9 Samsung, that one on the right, the second right of the middle sector. You can put your foot down too early there, can spin you out. So it's a technical, difficult track with some overtaking opportunities.
Yeah, it is, and I'll be very surprised if we make a meal of Portimao with its width. I think it's about 8-9 meters wide down the start-finish straight, very similar to Mexico in that sense. But turn 1, massive pinch point on the inside. Turn at 5, I think it is a hairpin as well. Then you have those roller coaster sections stemming from turn 8, as you mentioned. So yeah, it will be a bit of a mixed bag, I think, again, with hopefully no sort of repeat. But again, Kai Pearson pointless for a third race, Louis Valentin pointless for a second race. Consistency has dropped today, and that'll be something the drivers will be looking to rectify next week.
Yeah, let's fingers crossed better for next week in nearly all sense of the word. We were robbed again from a Cameron Dowd's race, and we're desperate to see how he handles against these top drivers. We see his qualifying pace good. We saw his race before in the sprint race before the safety car came out, how good he can race, but we just want a full race. We want to see that. But yeah, Joseph, I think we should possibly end here for now.
Well, you froze again, and all I heard from that sentence was, that was a race. It was a race. There you go. That final input. It was a race.
Right then, we are back next week for Portimao. All the other tiers and PC side of things will be back as well. Thank you for sticking through with us on this one. It's not been ideal. Lag in the lobby setting, not lobby settings, but I'm guessing it's just a terrible server night from the F1 side of things. But for now, thank you so much for sticking with us. We'll see you next week.